Brothers and sisters, we could say that our theme today in the scriptures is prayer. We hear in the first reading Queen Esther, who is petitioning God to help save the Jewish people from the wicked Haman, who had asked the king to pass a law to exterminate the Jewish people. And she prays. And God gives her the courage and the strength to face her fear, which is that if she goes to the presence of the king in order to ask the king to spare the lives of the Jewish people, if the king doesn't extend to her the royal scepter, she automatically incurs the death penalty. So she's taking her life in her hands, basically. And we hear in the psalm this response, "Lord, on the day I called for help, you answered me." And Jesus in the gospel makes a pretty bold promise, and it's a promise we can count on, because either Jesus means it or he's a liar. And Jesus is not a liar, therefore he means it, and we should be able to stand on his promises. He says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you." Now, does that mean we can ask for vain things? Not necessarily. But it means that we can trust that God is going to give us good things. Now, I remember years ago, I was praying about where to go for some R&R. I was much in need for some rest and relaxation. And a neo-Pentecostal friend of mine sent me a Christmas card, which is a miracle in and of itself. Neo-Pentecostals don't celebrate Christmas. And in it, she said, "Blessings on your trip, Father Chris." And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what trip she's talking about. So I texted her and I said, "What trip is this?" And she says, "I don't know. God says you're going on a trip and you're going to get blessed." So I decided to cheat and text some people here at St. Thomas. I was in Connecticut at the time, who I know have the gift of prophecy and hearing from the Lord. And I asked them, "Hey, I'm supposedly going on some trip. Can you pray and ask where I'm supposed to go?" And the response was, "No, not getting anything yet, but just pray about it. You're definitely going to be going on a trip and you're going to be blessed by it. And just let it marinate," in quotes, which I chuckled at because people know my devotion to Mary. So I prayed. The next morning, I woke up, and it was as if two words were whispered in my ear, "Fatima and Santiago." And then came the notion that not only am I supposed to go to Santiago, but I'm supposed to walk there. Which I'm thinking, that's kind of crazy. But trusting that this was possibly God, I said, okay, let me test it. And so I got permission, and so that was the first hurdle. Got permission to go. And all of these small little things kept coming in the way. And then they would somehow get taken care of. Until the last obstacle was, I was supposed to have a priest from Canada, one of our friars, fly down and take my place for the 10 days I was going to be gone. And I get a call the night before I'm supposed to leave from the priest, and he says, "I've been denied entry into the United States in Toronto. Sorry, I can't come." So I was praying and I'm saying, "God, you know, there's all these people who've been saying that this trip is from you, and I believe it because you've been taking away all the obstacles that have been coming up. But it looks like I have to shoot this trip in the head," was my language for, saying, I may not be able to go. I'm supposed to have coverage for the people to be able to have Mass. And trying to get coverage the day before was next to impossible. Nothing's impossible for God, right? So I said, "God, listen, if I have to shoot the trip in the head, you still have to bless me because you told people that I was going to be blessed from this trip." And I decided, that fighting some discouragement, I said, "God, you're going to take care of it." So I went to bed. Next morning I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm like, God, you still have to find coverage for me to leave today to go on this trip. And I said, okay, listen, I've never bilocated before, but I know it's possible that you've had people bilocate, and they don't necessarily have to be saints to do it. So, listen, you just pop me, if you have to pop me over to Portugal and back so that I can still say Mass for the people and then be on the trip at the same time, you do that. You just get me to Portugal and I can't worry about the rest of the trip. A couple seconds later, I hear a text message come in. It's Father Bruce, and he says, hey, I want to come and visit your parish. Do you mind if I stay in the rectory while you're away? And I text him back and I say, well, listen, I may not be going. Here's what's going on. The priest got denied entry. I don't have coverage. And he says, well, listen, here in Buzzards Bay, he was in Buzzards Bay at the time, I've got some people who can take my coverage while I'm away, and I can extend my coverage, my away time, for the time that you're going to be away. So there it was. God took care of the coverage. Now, it might seem banal because, something as little as a vacation. God cares about the things that bless us. God cares about what we need in order not just to survive, but to thrive. So if God cares about the Jewish people and making sure they don't get exterminated, and he cares about such little things like St. Peter's mother-in-law had a fever, you'd say, hey, just get some rest and get over it, right? No, but Jesus cared and he healed St. Peter's mother-in-law. So if God is so concerned about the smallest thing and the greatest thing, how about all the things in between? So we want to trust that when God says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened, he means it. And sometimes we have to persevere because sometimes we're quick to give up when something seems to get in the way. Again, though, we have to have a certain disposition, a willingness to be able to give up even what we think God has promised to us. To be able to set that down. You can call it putting it on the altar. In other words, saying, okay, God, this was my hope. I thought this was from you. But if not, I'm willing to give it up and hand it over to you. But your will be done. And still persevere in praying for the thing that it is that we think God has put on our hearts. This kind of trust is what the Lord is looking for. And God will test us to see if we're willing to trust. He will allow what he has promised or what good thing he wants to give to us to be tested. But the question is, will we persevere in prayer? Will we persevere in trust and in faith? That's for us to decide today. And we ask Jesus in the Eucharist, who we receive today, to give us all those small graces that we need, since he is so willing to give us even such a great gift as himself. Amen.